Craig and Tim clips.
So the topic today, and the reason why I want to talk about this, I brought this up to you on the phone while you were driving back from Alberta. We just had Thanksgiving. And you know that I do this often, and you make fun of me for doing it backwards sometimes. After Thanksgiving, I fasted for 24 hours.
Right.
And I generally, after bigger meals, will fast for 24 hours. And I generally fast for about 16 hours a day. So I do about a 16-8, I think it's called, fast. I was doing it a lot more back when I was in better shape. I've gotten a little bit out of shape. I am working back on that, and I'm hoping that I can get back on that. And so fasting is important to me. And I watched a video with Chris. It's one of the Hemsworth brothers, Chris Hemsworth, I believe, called Limitless on Disney Plus.
Yep.
And one of the episodes is about fasting on Limitless, and it talks about fasting, about like when you fast, it allows your cells of your body to repair themselves because they are not being fed. So what he calls them is zombie cells, and these zombie cells can die off when you fast because they're not being fed sugar and glucose and like all the stuff that you shouldn't be eating.
My food contains glucose, the fuel that feeds the trillions of healthy cells in my body. But that glucose also feeds something else. Zombie cells. Old, damaged cells that have lingered beyond their useful life. By spewing toxic sludge, these zombies infect other healthy cells, speeding up the aging process. Everything from hair loss and wrinkles to the onset of arthritis, cancer, and dementia. But what scientists have realized is that when we fast and cut off the supply of glucose, that zombie army is starved of energy, which saps them of their power.
Which is why when you fast, when you end a fast, you should end a fast with like good fats and like protein and not with sugar.
Yeah. And we can go on another rabbit
I'm not a doctor.
About fats versus carbohydrates and sugars, which at some point in the next few weeks we can get into, but not today. For the record, I agree, and I like the idea of intermittent fasting. And there's so much more than just not eating that's involved in fasting. By the way, Hemsworth, is he the one that was dating Miley Cyrus?
No, I think it was the other brother. This is the one that played Thor.
Oh, okay. I get them confused.
They look identical. Okay. Well, not identical, but they look very similar.
So the only argument I have against your fasting is you use fasting in like, if I fast for 10 hours, I can eat 12 pizzas.
I do not eat 12 pizzas.
17 chicken fingers at a baseball game. And then a Diet Coke and poutine and stuff. That's my only argument, is I think you use it incorrectly a lot of the time. Because I know if we go out for wings at a certain point, I'll ask him the same question. So when did you fast from to have your 1,700 pounds of wings that just digested in 2 weeks? And so that's my only argument, because in general, I do believe in fasting.
Yeah.
Do I do it? No, because I like to eat.
Yeah, you don't fast. You do fast. You fast from whatever time you eat last till the morning when you have your breakfast.
I don't eat carbs. Well, I don't eat starchy carbs. I'll eat fruits. I don't have refined sugars and stuff like that. So I just don't. I don't eat that. I don't feel the need to fast, but I would do it, and it's certainly
technically everybody fasts, and that's where the word breakfast comes from, to break fast. So like when you eat lunch, if that's your first meal of the day, that's your break fast. When you eat your 3 eggs, frozen blueberries, and natural peanut butter, that's your breakfast, right? So if you haven't eaten since 7 last night until 7 in the morning, you have a 12-hour fast.
Right.
That's what it is. So anyway, so do you fast? That's what we want to know, is if you fast, what kind of fasting do you do? And if you're having a big meal like I do when we go for wings, do you fast before the meal? Because I do. I don't want to eat. I eat all my calories at one moment, so I don't want to fill up on calories all day.
Isn't that the opposite of the eat breakfast like a king and supper like a pauper mentality because you're so close to bedtime? It's like, I'm not going to eat anything all day, and then I'm going to eat horribly, and I'm going to go to sleep 20 minutes later.
Well, when we go for wings, I don't go to sleep 20 minutes later.
Okay, 2 hours.
No, we go to an 8-hour movie and everybody sleeps.
Do you eat after a certain hour typically? Like
I try not to eat after. I'd like to not eat after 7. I try not to eat after 8. Yeah. Either way, I don't eat again until 16 hours later.
Right. The idea is your body starts to slow down closer to bedtime.
Yeah.
Your digestion slows down. So if you're going to eat right before bed, that stuff is typically sits there and is
doesn't
slower
get burnt.
Have you heard that there's a comedian that I think he said a joke about don't worry about having that last piece of cheesecake at night because you can just sleep longer. Because like in theory, sleeping burns calories. I always think of that one. Don't worry.
I don't have to do 10, anything.
And you can't eat when you're sleeping, right?
I guess. I've never heard of that.
The question we're asking is, A, do you fast?
Yeah.
B, are you familiar with fasting in general as a concept, right?
That's right.
Those are the two questions, right?
Those are the two main questions.
And people can say, no, I think it's stupid, right?
Yeah.
Not eating for a period of time. Why is that? Why do people do that, right?
And if you're a fitness person, do you agree with fasting? The person that they interviewed on the fasting thing for Limitless, Peter Attia, I believe his name is, he used to do 72-hour fasts. Yeah. He's gone away from that because he was losing muscle mass. So he's actually lowered his amount of time that he fasts now because he knows that his body needs it in order to maintain his muscle mass.
Right. And if you, it depends on what your goals are, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if it is to build muscle, well, you're told not only do you have to eat a certain amount, but exactly what you're eating, when you're eating to build that muscle, right? To simply not eat. Yeah. People think losing weights or gaining muscle is just about eating less. If I eat less and I exercise more, then good things are going to happen. But it's more complicated than that.
Yeah.
And that goes into all the benefits of exercise and healthy eating. But that's neither here nor there. We're just talking about fasting today. So anyways, those are the questions we have for people.